biggest lies we're told in the last 10 years, more specifically in the summer of 2020. Some would call it the summer of George Floyd, right? When all the race hustlers came out and collected their funds out of all the race grievance and the white guilt and things of that nature. During that time, we were told time and time again that black men or black people were being hunted down in the streets like never before, right? We would see image after image, oftentimes the very same story, 24-hour news cycles, to the point where in our psyche we would feel as if, damn, if I just step outside of the damn door right now, I don't know if I'm gonna make it home. I remember these conversations being had. I remember seeing videos of parents talking to their kids. You know, hey, you might never make it out just because you're black. You probably are just going. And they weren't teaching their kids to say, you know, this is how you act in an interaction with a police officer. No, no, no. They were telling their kids, you better be afraid. And during that time, even though I had already kind of had my inner awakening, it wasn't a very public one, right? I'd kind of come out of the conservative closet by that point in time, but I still was susceptible to those messages. Even though I had a different life experience where, you know, I had my days when I was doing things that I shouldn't have been involved in, but, you know, I was trying to fit this kind of stereotype. I was selling dope and doing things of that nature. And I've been stopped by the police a few times in my lifetime. A few times, more than a few times. A handful and a couple on the other hand. Let's just say that. And every one of my experiences when I was supposed to be in the worst amount of trouble, when something was supposed to happen, I was supposed to get locked up that night. It didn't happen. When I interfaced with this white cop and that white cop, it didn't happen. Now, I know that's my personal experience. But oftentimes when you speak on your own personal experience that goes against the message or the status quo they want to push, you know, you're the enemy. It's like Lil Wayne, they're trying to push him to, you know, but racism. And he's like, look, I never experienced racism in my life. People can't understand that or fathom it, but he's telling his experience, his truth. You could say because he was a celebrity since he was 13, 14, whatever, but that's still his truth, right? He doesn't see the world in that paradigm. And this is a guy who at 9 years old, you know, or 6 years old, whatever it was, he found, you know, a pew-pew in the house and he pew-pewed himself, and he would have essentially died right there on the spot if it wasn't for this white officer who stayed in his life, you know, till this day. Officer Rogers, I think it was. So his experience was very different. And so for me, I had this cognitive dissonance. I had this, you know, there was this internal battle to say, okay, this is my experience and even experience of those who are closest to me. And I know my homeboys some of my homeboys were supposed to do a bid. I knew the type of dirt that they were getting into, but they didn't. They got in now. And yet I'm thinking to myself, okay, but the television, or not just TV, but social media, things of that nature, you know, that was the black square days, right? Everybody's posting a black square. And I didn't post a black square. You know, I felt a little guilty, but still I was like, something's off about this. Lo and behold, I start getting into the numbers and I find out that we are being lied to. And not only have these numbers decreased as far as, you know, police brutality or whatever it is, but significantly, yet in the media, the messaging has gone up exponentially. Now, this is something that happened as well in like the 1990s, I believe. After the crack epidemic, when crime was plummeting down, in the news, it was skyrocketing up. Because they were selling clicks, they're selling views, they're looking for advertiser dollars, they're looking to push a specific agenda, and allegedly they're looking to create a divide and conquer sort of narrative, you know, as they are pawns of the far left ideologues, the neo-Marxists, the so-called woke progressives of, you know, of that liberal party that used to be the Democratic Party. I don't know what it is anymore at this point. It is just mental illness on steroids, but I digress. So I recently saw another one of these statistics, and I have to read this out because I am beholden to the truth. Simple as that. I tell folks, look, I love you enough to tell you the truth. I care about you, but that means I can't allow my fear of triggering you to stop me from telling you the truth. I cannot. I can't do it. And I'm not willing to do it because I want to go to bed at night and be okay with myself every single night. This is my purpose. This is what I'm called to, right? This is my God-breathed purpose in this life. So I am beholden to what I'm beholden to, and I want to get into this. It's just a quick stat, and then I will unpack. So this says the 2024 numbers are in. Okay. So blacks or black Americans, because this is in America, black Americans in 2024 unalived 458 white Americans. White Americans unalived 84 black Americans. The United States is 13.7% black Americans, 58.4% white Americans. Black Americans are 23 times more likely to unalive a white person than whites are to black Americans. 23. So here's the thing. 458 and 84 are both disgusting. Any person who is willing to take somebody else's life unjustified is somebody who I believe is a problem within the society. And they should be behind bars. Black, white, red, I don't give a damn. Okay? That's that. But I will say that the narratives that are being pushed as far as this so-called white supremacy, as far as black people being hunted down by the white man in these streets, is a lie. Because we love to bring up, but it's about per capita. It's about, no, look, 13% of the population compared to more than 50%, yet the 13% is 23 times more likely to. This is a systemic problem. This is a system, folks. This is a cultural problem. Again, I know it's going to be triggering. I know you don't want to hear it. I know you were pissed off when people were saying, wait a minute, okay, Black Lives Matter, but what about the young black boys and girls who are in these neighborhoods who are being unalived by their own? We didn't want to have that conversation. We were shut down. The ones who were trying to have that conversation were canceled. We were shut down. We were called white supremacists. We still are. To this day, we still are. But the difference is, what's that saying? I got time today. I've got time today. Back in the day, your mama, your auntie, your daddy, your grandmama, your grandpapa, whoever it was, would tell you the truth, would correct you. They would discipline you into understanding that how you were living is wrong. If you had a baby out of wedlock, that was a taboo. And this before Jim Crow. Imagine this. In the midst of Jim Crow, right out of slavery, the Democratic Party institutes Jim Crow because we know how they do. And if you were a young black girl, young black woman, and you ended up having a child out of wedlock, that would be seen as problematic. That was taboo. That was looked down upon. Today, it is normal. Today, it is status quo. If a young black man was to take the life of anybody, let alone his own, he was seen as a problem. He was thrown into jail. But his own people, quote unquote, would no longer see him as their own. They would ostracize him and make sure that he was incarcerated and paid for what he did. He was the taboo. Today, he has become accepted, coddled, and this sort of behavior is allowed. And how do I know this? You can take a simple look at what's being projected on these screens. Now, we love to make excuses for every damn thing, but I get down to the nitty gritty. I get down to the bone of things, okay? Oh, but Sexy Red. Oh, but Future. But it's the labels. It's the white man who's pushing that message. You know, in one of my biggest videos so far, I said why I abandoned the quote unquote black culture, having my black card revoked, right? And in that video, I mentioned BET and I said it became white owned. My point in that wasn't to say, look at the white man. No. It's to say that these artists, these individuals, whoever it is, celebrities, etc., who are pushing this sort of message and that sort of image, right? This degeneracy, this debauchery, this toxicity and dysfunction, these individuals right here are choosing to be exactly what they are. They have chosen monetary gain, fame, as opposed to morals, values, character. They made the decision. You can't blame the white man for having a Sexy Red because a Sexy Red had to exist to begin with. So you get down to what y'all love to talk about, which is the system. What is a system? It is all the cogs in the machine. It is the functionality. It is the foundation of a thing, right? How does this thing actually operate? What's the process of this? So if you have a process that says, okay, we're going to disincentivize husband and wife coming together, having a healthy, functional relationship, then having a child in the context of that relationship. If that's not the system, but instead you say, okay, in our system, we have, woman who ends up pregnant by somebody, whoever it is, indiscriminately, right? Raises child becomes X, Y, and Z, right? A child raised in a single mother household is 4 times, I believe, and it may be even increased by this point, but these are, I believe, Thomas Sowell numbers, 4 times more likely to end up incarcerated and everything else that comes with it. There's your system. So you want to blame the white man. Okay, fantastic. So you can talk about LBJ and his incentive program. Fantastic. You want to talk about Reaganomics and the war on drugs. Fantastic. But one thing you cannot take away from is the fact that there is still decisions, choices that are being made at an individual level that do not change the system. And the reason why I speak with the megaphone and on top of a soapbox about this is because you do not change the problem unless you address the true problem itself. You go to a doctor, you tell the doctor, I'm feeling this and this and this type of way. Doctor runs the test. You are pre-diabetic. A doctor who is worth their salt is going to tell you you need to change your lifestyle. These things get rid of the sugar, stop consuming so many carbohydrates, get more proteins and fats in your diet, get more movement and exercise, stop smoking, drinking. They're going to give you a solution at the foundation, you see. Instead of, it's just unfortunate, the healthcare system and, food companies are just so corrupt and all they care, all big food, big ag. No. A doctor worth their salt is going to bring personal accountability because that's how you change it. That's how you change the narrative. We can talk all day about the external causal factors, but if you as an individual do not take personal accountability and ownership, all of that don't mean diddly shit. All of it. It means nothing. And most people spend more time simply looking at the external problem because it's easier than looking in the mirror and saying, damn, I'm dysfunctional. I'm living in a destructive way. My lifestyle, my perspectives, my mindset, the way in which I even view relationships. This is dysfunctional. This is problematic. I got to make sure, for me, I was emotionally unavailable for most of my young life. And so I had to get to a point to be like, bro, you keep people at an arm's distance. Like you keep your loved one at an arm's distance. I had to drop that in order to have a wife like I do now. In order to have her, you can't pull up with somebody who has an open heart with a closed heart. No, that doesn't work. I had to change something. I used to blame, obviously, my external before that, but then I had to take onus and say, wait a minute, no, bro, you're the problem. I am the problem. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see. It's accountability. We are afraid to hear these numbers. We're afraid to hear these numbers because of what it means. It means taking accountability. And so many of us are afraid of that because we say, what does that mean about me? Does that mean I'm worthless? Does that mean everything that was said about me is true? No, what it means is you become powerful. What it means is you take back your God-given authority over your life. What it means is you become all that you were meant to be. That's what it means. That's what that means. But first, you have to take accountability. Simple as that.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising. They see your light shine.